You see, on Facebook, you can comment on anything. People were commenting about the Arab Spring uprising. People were commenting. To my surprise, I was surprised why my comment was the only one, yet they were even worse than mine. Wednesday morning, I was sitting outside my house reading my morning paper when I saw a group of men and women. I suspected them to be policemen. They were coming towards my house. And when the kid pointed at my house, she disappeared. And when they came, how come you're not working? You're reading a morning paper. You can see you have got a nice house. It fits well into our information that you are an armed robber. We came in. There were almost 20 of them, almost 20. They wanted to search. They said they knew where I kept the gun. Went into the bedroom, searched everywhere. My wardrobe, everything, they couldn't find the gun. After failing to secure the gun, they told me I'm under arrest. They took statements. They tried to open my phone. They couldn't. I opened for them. I really don't know what they were really looking for because they didn't know what they were looking for. They asked me, do you go to Facebook? I said yes. I had to tell them what is a wall, what is Facebook, what's this. You get what I'm saying. They were reading. That's when they got this post and they stopped there. That's when they got a case for me. But otherwise, they had no case for me. It's only when I had opened my phone for them and they just picked a post they saw in my phone and it turned into a political statement. They said, we are charging you with POSA, public security order.
Pilato is a hero for the younger generation in Zambia. He is one of the most famous singers and songwriters. And he is committed to the most vulnerable, particularly in his hometown, Ndola.
Yes, I do. I do.
I personally grew up knowing and meeting people that had these social ills, and most of whom are engineered by our politics. So for me, I feel it's very only correct that we challenge and question our political leaders because they are the ones that are in charge of national resources. Why should it be that some people are super rich whilst others have literally nothing, So for me, I feel it's my responsibility as an artist to try and negotiate, and try to seek answers.
He uses his music to criticize the government, ministers, and even the president with this song.
In our case, where we had a president who gets into power and brings in our team and doesn't want anybody to talk about that. So apparently the most offensive thing is because I mentioned that he moved with this briefcase with Jameson. But obviously it's a known fact that he likes his Jameson whisk, and I had to mention it in the song because obviously that's an icon on its own. So he didn't like it.
The lack of freedom of expression not only hits the common people or musicians, but also parliamentarians. Years ago, as a pupil, James Maridadi was impressed by President Robert Mugabe.
He was an icon then. I remember we came smart in blazers and grey socks and uniform, and we received it was very exciting. Yeah, and I mean, he was then Prime Minister, and getting a prize from the Prime Minister himself was very, very exciting. 15 billion.
Now, he is an opposition MP, and the way he views Robert Mugabe has changed. In his constituency, in the outskirts of the capital, people listen to him when he is criticizing the government. But he also tried some years ago in the center of Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. The freedom of expression was quite limited.
We decided we wanted to mount a demonstration to press government to give us the jobs that they promised during the elections. So we came and we gathered here. There were quite a number of us. It was a very peaceful demonstration, so I started addressing them. In my capacity, firstly, as a legislator and also as a concerned citizen. And as I was addressing them, we had a police vehicle full of police came from this side, driving against traffic, and another one came from behind, and then others came on foot through that exit there, and we're boxed here. Let me say, quite a number of youths were severely assaulted, severely assaulted. Because those who saw the police descending on us never imagined that anyone would leave this place alive. So yeah, we got arrested and we got taken to Central Police Station, which is about 200-300 meters from here. Yeah, we were thrown in the cells. I spent the night in the cells and was released the following day because they did not have an appropriate charge.
Journalists are frequently targeted when it comes to limiting freedom of expression or limiting the freedom of the press. One of the recent victims is Nkaba, the deputy editor at Newsday in Harare.
We've written a story about CIOs getting bonus. They said they hadn't received bonus, but our sources were insisting they had got something. So the state alleges that we lied about that, and the import of our story was to cause economic and defense interests to be at risk, something along those lines. Yeah. At about 4:30, 5 o'clock, a group of policemen, 5 of them, came in through the back gate that side, and they came into the front. So people were knocking off, and they said they were looking for the editor. The editor was off duty, so I was the one who was responsible for publishing the paper. So I left the office and I asked one of my colleagues to finish up publishing the paper. So when I got into town, I called them and asked them what they wanted. They said, no, we just want to talk to you, no big deal. And I said, you guys want to arrest me, what for? They said, no, we want to discuss a story that you published.
Nkaba walked through the streets of Harare, found shelter at a friend's home, and the following morning he presented himself at a police station.
We actually went into a police van which was taking us to court. Maybe a kilometer from court, a mysterious phone call came in and said, no, this guy should sleep in prison, in custody rather. So we slept in custody for that one night. And we went to court the following day where we were granted bail of $100, I think, $200 rather, and our passports were taken.
It seems that it never ends. No one knows the recent history of persecution of journalists better than Beatrice Ntetwa.
We've had a terrible history in media law, in freedom of the press, in freedom of expression generally in Zimbabwe, to an extent where some of the really leading cases were premised, from a perspective where the media was not regarded as having rights. Their rights were almost always determined by the executive, who more often than not were really the group of people that the media focuses on. So you have a group that controls what the media can say, and if they say what they don't like, they can arrest them, which completely, of course, undermines the media's role to scrutinize and present out there to the public what may not be going right.
Beatrice Ntetwa is a human rights lawyer who defends citizens from all walks of life. But contrary to lawyers in other countries, she understands what it means to be a target.
So I have from time to time been also a target for no other reason than that I represent sometimes causes that are not very popular with the government. More recently, I was arrested for basically representing somebody whose house was being searched. And when I asked for a warrant and called for a warrant, I ended up spending 8 days in jail. And when I was prosecuted and I was acquitted at the close of the state case, because there clearly was no case, the state appealed my acquittal and sought leave to really, have the case reopened.
Pilato felt what it means if the president does not like what he was singing.
On a Sunday, I went for a TV interview because I was asked for about the song, because I knew how excited the police get when the name of the president or the presidency or the government is involved in anything. So we intelligently recorded the TV program that was supposed to be aired in the evening. So when the program was aired, on Movie TV, we were informed that 7 vans loaded with police in riot gears raided Movie TV.
The next day, Pilato showed up at the Central Police Station in Lusaka together with his lawyers.
And then we were told, my lawyers were told that no, there is an express instruction from the president that this guy should spend some time in jail. So I spent the whole night. I spent a day and night in jail. And the following day we went to the courts in the morning and we managed to get a bail. They said they were discontinuing the case, but ordered me to say they can easily come back for me anytime, at any place and anywhere.
Some years ago, Nkaba suffered the consequences of the criminal defamation law. Supported by MISA, he fought against it, and finally the Constitutional Court struck it down. However, his recent case is still open.
And we're told to report to the police every Friday between 6 and 6 p.m., 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. We reported for a couple of weeks, or more than that, maybe 4 weeks. And we then went again to the magistrate's court and challenged the law that we are being charged with. It was taken to the Constitutional Court, so we're waiting for the Constitutional Court to give us a date.
Breaking the chains. This worked for colonialism, and it seemed to work for journalism, at least in the Zambian outback. Radio reporter Peter Banda can move freely and is covering the smuggling between Zambia and Malawi. Common people there appreciate his work. The government, at least, seems to respect it.
Government, currently, I think they know that we are doing our work. We have to hold them to account because whatever money they are using, it's our money, me and the general populace.
Sounds like respecting journalism. These people take the opportunity to tell the man from Breeze FM what has to be improved. Not long ago, 2 journalists were beaten up and severely injured for doing their job. Even in the small town of Chipata, Breeze FM director Mike Daka experiences similar threats to those that Pilato also faces.
We are getting consent because we think that there's an element of intolerance, if not even intimidation. Because an example I can give you is a case of 29th November 2015 when we were running a program, live phone-in discussion program with the leader of the Rainbow Party, Winter Kabimba, when cadres, we believe from the ruling party, came in and disrupted that program. That concerned us a lot, especially because we are in a period when we're going to our August elections, and we hope the radio station can continue to do the work that is done without any interference.
Back to Pilato. The songwriter is on his way to prepare his next gig.
So when there's a show here, this whole place is packed up. You have thousands of people. So this whole place...
Just a few days to go. Meanwhile, as Pilato is getting ready with the last preparations, the owner of the place tells him that he had to cancel his show.
I'm all right, how are you?
My performance was denied permit because it was my show that was supposed to be there. So they were told, no, we can't give you a permit for Pilato. If you do this, we're gonna withdraw your license, your operating license.
Pressure is rising. The political powers use their influence to censor Pilato by threatening organizers of his concerts.
The other time was in a central province where I was locked in a meeting with the entire provincial police command, and they had to list a few things for me that I shouldn't say. You know, they literally censored my show, and we had more police officers at the show than people that came for the show. So that in itself is a threat to my freedom of speech and expressions.
Facebook commenter Vikas Mavudzi, at the end, spent almost a month in this prison. Vikas was released. The judge dropped the case. What remains is another case of intimidation of an ordinary citizen.
She threw it away and ordered that I be given my cell phone forthwith with immediate effect. She actually said, why would you detain a man in prison and take his phone and lock in the drawer?
Pilato doesn't stop. It seems like he is on a mission, preparing already his next song.
I know the price, but I feel it's a worth engagement. I cannot forsake the integrity of the people. I cannot forsake the people that have fueled our streets. You know, I would rather be their sacrificial lamb, and then tomorrow they have a better life, rather than me enjoying my own life and then watch things fall apart for so many of our friends and relatives.
Ngaba feels that the attacks against him and his colleagues has huge consequences.
The biggest import I would say that it affected me really was self-censorship. It creates a sense of fear in the way you conduct your job. You are afraid to write. Sometimes a story comes in here and I'm thinking, will this get me in prison? Even some stories that are really not that big. But when you've been in prison before, the whole night episode, spending it in prison is really, really scary, if I were to put it that way.
James Maridadi decided to fight against a law.
And what I've done as a Member of Parliament is that I've moved a motion which seeks to amend IPA. IPA is Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And that is a draconian piece of legislation which made it very difficult for journalists to work in Zimbabwe. It criminalized journalism, and it also made it very difficult for people to get access to information.
Just a few weeks ago, he presented his motion on the repeal of the IPA Act in the Zimbabwean parliament. It's the fight to make his country respect the spirit of the Windhoek Declaration a bit more.